Who has authority to deny you self-thought? You've got to fulfil the letter of the law.
No, it's about the mind persuades itself.
To meet the God.
The mind can very easily persuade itself that it knows all things and it's correct, especially because we hear things plenty of times and it's like, oh, that's the first time I've heard that, but I know that's the truth. And so we all have this habit of taking up information sporadically, instantly, and then sharing that information when really, to do the research, like you say, as you have done, can we do the research without being biased about our own results and what we expect to find? That's, I think, part of the missing question that we need to be asking ourselves, because many people go into the Bible with preconceptions, and those preconceptions just make it impossible for them to actually get what's actually written down. When I was first reading it, I was reading it without a preconception. I was reading it as, I have no idea what the next page is going to say, and you either accept that's what it says, or you don't. And it doesn't mean that that's how you're going to be and that's how you're going to live your life. It just means that you've accepted that was written down on a piece of paper. Because the Bible doesn't come with all the answers, does it? It comes with a set of questions. Look at it. Look at the Old Testament and then look at the New Testament. Like you said before, people have to kind of grow up and realise that it's self-responsibility and not necessarily giving that responsibility to an avatar or someone who represents you as an advocate in Moses. Say, you represent us, you talk to God, Moses, we can't.
Same with that Jesus story.
Right. Well, what would be the parable then of, not taking the story as literally as Moses went on the mountain, came down, and the people fell into the earth? That's an incredible thing. That's an incredible story. Maybe it was written that way just to make it memorable. Maybe it was written that way so that people can think about, well, what does it really mean? Because if there is a God, does he not give meanings to things, or is it without meaning? Does he just randomly kill people? This is another thing, people that say, oh, well, if God exists, why does he let babies die? They love to pull at the heartstrings. I'd say something obtuse and kind of really, it's a bit flippant saying things like that. Like, God's responsible for people dying. Wait a minute. No, wait. On one level, yes, we are born and we die because of the laws of nature, the laws of creation. That's how it is. But, to say that a person died early and that God didn't prevent it. Wait a minute. What's free choice all about? Does anybody understand that?
Isn't that another myth?
Another myth? Possibly. We're here to investigate these things. But what is the power behind that myth? How does it show us?
It's the same sort of myth as heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm.
Very dangerous myth.
Dangerous?
Don't start believing that shit, it'll fuck you up.
Well, I believe that hell exists, and I also believe that heaven exists, but not in the way that it's traditionally viewed by the church, i.e. you die and you either go to heaven or hell. I don't believe in that. I believe the spiritual states of heaven and hell.
Controlling a deplorable set of tools and cruel instruments for.
No, but by no means does it describe the way that a lot of these evangelicals describe how heaven and hell is. I mean, it said that Christ said the kingdom of heaven is nigh, meaning now, right now, here and now. We're in heaven. What do you mean, another heaven? This is heaven. How do we know that? Well, I guess that's where faith comes in. This is also hell. How do we know that? Well, I guess the physical laws the things that we can experiment and test with prove that the spiritual domains of heaven and hell are in this same place where we are, what we call life. We perceive states of good, states of evil. Now, yeah, maybe it is time that that is expounded upon rather than being simplistic baby terms. However, for a few thousand years, in terms of our behaviour, I think it's helped us.
I think it's stunted our growth. Hideously, it's deformed us. If there was any sort of moral sense.
Well, that's the same as saying when you have a child, let them go anywhere. Just let them out in the street, you know, because otherwise you'll deform them and stunt them.
Yeah, you put someone in a cage too small for the body, and isn't that deforming, crippling?
Yes, if it's a cage that's too small for the body. But I'm saying it's not a cage that's too small for the body. It's a case of, by the time you're ready to even read that Bible and even fully just grasp the basic concepts of the story.
The Bible is itself, it's my book. Just the same as the others are my book. And I can't trust any other motherfucker with their interpretation.
It's your interpretation. It's a reflection of you. So I speak like this from personal experience.
That's a whole meaning behind meaning.
We give it meaning. We anthropomorphize. We anthropomorphize everything. A book, we give it human emotion. Aside from the fact that a human wrote it, obviously, and therefore it will contain that emotion. But the reading it back, just like reading Aristotle or Nietzsche, reading it back and giving your own sets of values, so that it becomes, something that is recycled every generation. The same questions. After us, people will come and question the Bible again, and they'll question Nietzsche again, and they'll question Aristotle again, and so they should, because these principal building blocks of our ability to rationalize and reason. Well, they're not just talking simple stuff, you know. They're talking like the higher states of principles. What you said doesn't exist, morals and virtues. I'm sorry, but that's what they're discussing, and how it actually
No, I'm not saying virtues don't exist, but virtues aren't necessarily the same thing as morals, which is an ethical claim to normalization.
Well, that's why you gotta make sure.
The basis of modern Christian morality is a deferred morality.
What is the most important
based
thing?
on adherence to the power of clerics.
All right. Well, that aside, what is the most important thing? What should we be saying?
What should we be saying?
Yeah. What is the most important thing? Right. The Ten Commandments is a good place to start, because we talk about 10.
It's got the same sort of things like the Bible.
Yeah.
Seek wisdom. More than earthly treasures. Be prepared to give up the things that you desire, because the whole point is to overcome the principles of pleasure and pain, which are an inducement and an incentive and to courses of action. And by having inducements and incentives, it's a corruption to the truth, or to the wisdom of truth, which is beyond association with reward and punishment.
But how do you separate that without, because you're talking about the spirit without the body. I'm talking about all three, mind, body and soul, exist in a package. There's no separating them because there just is no life. And if there's no life, there's no experience. All of these, what we're talking about, are phantasms. These are, I think that's kind of like what Sarah means, the schizoid. You think life is like, when it's nothing like that. Life is nothing like that. We've just created every single thing to say, well, that's important. But really, well, it is all important, because we've created, say, that plastic bottle, it holds the liquid in it. Would you prefer the liquid in the bottle or just all over the place, all on the floor? Therefore, the state of our being, the state of how things are, causality, cause and effect, is important on one level.
Yeah.
And then on another level, you can look at...
Technology isn't necessarily bound by moral constraints.
Well, Well, not these days. It's about who's making the money, and that's why we discussed zeitgeist that time, and zeitgeist versus the morality, the ethical issues of zeitgeist. It's all right saying resource-based society, but if the same people are in charge, nothing's changed. Why would the same people be in charge? Because we've got it's so used to a habit of things being a certain way, everybody's scared to take that responsibility. I'm not quite sure why they're scared of the responsibility, because the two go hand in hand. You free your life, but you've got to take charge.
You've got to be responsible for your actions, so you should maybe.
Yeah. Well, how is the Bible different from taking responsibility, or what you're reading there, taking responsibility? I mean, it's the same message using different words, and that's what Joseph Campbell was saying.
If the end result of all of this is another few chapters appended to the back of it, which says once again, actually, defer personal responsibility. It's all about belief in this one responsible person. Yeah. As long as you believe that this guy was responsible, you don't. You know what I mean?
Well, the message is more important than the messenger, isn't it?
It's not like be responsible in terms of seek that which is really important to your life, which is the source of those questions which must be answered by any reasoning human being.
Yeah.
And instead, they give you they hold out the promise of an illusory life after this one now, instead of how to live this life.
Yes.
Which is what the whole point of Messiah is to do.
Exactly. So when people read
with not just belief but a knowledge and an understanding which comes through being a student of the important things.
Well, being prepared to be the teacher as well.
Find out for yourself.
Yeah.
But to say no, have faith in this guy who found out for
himself. Yeah. Let them ascend the mountain.
That's a good substitute, basically, and you can get.
But I don't think a lot of people
intercede to this other guy as well. So that not only are you believing in this guy, but you've got to go through us to find out what this guy was about. So basically, that's double deferment.
Yeah.
It's just. It goes far away from morality, if morality can be thought to exist.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about traditional religion, yeah, as it's seen in this country, let's say, and probably in a lot of countries around the world. That idea of the master of ceremonies has taken on larger than life powers, almost,
Well, this is the same thing. I mean,
that's why I'm saying
don't go believing in such and such a thing. Believe that you have a duty to uphold the highest principles. Not waiting for anyone else. We're waiting for you to come to your bloody senses.
Well, that's what I was saying. Where we've reached now with government, because.
Well, it's been that way since time, Jules.
Yeah, but you say that, but every generation needs a little spur. They need a reminder. They're born into this and they know nothing. And like you said, children. Well, we're dealing with babies, aren't we? And especially in this time where we've got probably one of the most ignorant generations that's probably been on the face of the planet.
Arrogant.
Yeah, solipsistic, willfully ignorant. It's not like the knowledge doesn't exist. There's knowledge abounds. We've already got the books that already exist, and now we've got the internet that just makes it at your fingertips, and you just have to use Google. There you go. Any question you've got, you could start your research at least on the internet. I'm not saying everything's there.
The incentive to look.
Well, that's down to, do people really want solution things? Do they want the answers, or are they steadfast into this idea of punishing those that do wrong by looking at the wrongs they do?
Well, what's wrongs? You see, we're going back to morality again.
What is wrong? What is this reality, first of all? Because once you define what this reality is and what things are necessary, it's when someone willfully, knowingly, knowing the consequences of a certain said action, goes against others and denies others. I mean, you've got evil done to yourself, but in a way, no one could stop that evil done to yourself. But the evil when you do it to someone else, You know, that's what it's about.